Here's a really quick preview of some of Jonathan's great work before we get started. Why, hello there, good people of the earth. Shams Nelson here from Fantastic Anatomy in my Fantastic Anatomy t-shirt. Oh yeah, it just got real. It just got serious. I ordered this to wear at CTNX, where I'm going to be this year, and so is the topic of this video today, Jonathan Sundy, and you can check out his stuff at jonathansundy.com or on Instagram at Jonathan Sundy. And so I was in contact with him recently, and he's been very generous as to impart upon me the wisdom that he's learned being a freelance illustrator, specializing in character design and children's book illustrating. But he does all sorts of illustrations, and it's great work. You should check it out. But yeah, so he imparted on me some great wisdom, and I thought I'd share it with you guys because it'll probably be helpful. And some of the stuff he mentioned here is stuff I haven't heard elsewhere, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos and stuff, so it's really great stuff. So he divided it into 3-line summaries. So I'll go line by line, and then kind of I've broken it up, the email up, so that I can talk about the points that fall under each line. And the first line is the biggest line that he gives a lot of information on, and that is don't wait to be found. And so, so here are the points he makes about not waiting to be found, or things you can do, I should say, to not wait to be found. 1, go to local networking events. This is something I didn't think about too much. I think about the bigger ones, which is the next point. But local networking events can be industry events, of course, but also like meet and draws kind of thing. So like there's figure drawing. If you go on meetup.com, you'll find probably figure drawing workshops or where they hire a group of artists, hire a model, and then they do figure drawing once a week or so. And as well as drink and draws. I guess it's also a thing I hadn't heard of. But yeah, getting together with your local community and the artists there and networking that way can be a great way to start getting into the industry, making some connections and stuff, because networking is pretty important. And then the next thing he said is also go to bigger networking events. So, I mean, these are the more obvious ones, but there's some tricky tips in here, so stay tuned. But one of the things he mentions is CTNX, where I'm going to be, and he's going to be there. So if you see him and these tips were helpful, make sure to say hi and let him know that he has helped you along your journey. But also Comic Cons, Icon, SIGGRAPH, I don't know, like all sorts of art-related conventions are a great way to meet people, show your portfolio around, see what industry experts are saying about that. If you get feedback, he says if you get feedback and you hear a lot of the same things, if you show your portfolio to a lot of people in the industry, you'll hear a lot of the same things, and you'll know those things are the things you need to work on. So it's a really great way to get some focused feedback. The next thing he says is posting often. So posting daily, and he says it takes about an hour of his day up, but it keeps you on the radar of prospective clients who would want to hire you for freelance work and stuff like that. So posting, he mentions Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr. I personally haven't had too much success with Facebook and Tumblr, though I know that they're great platforms and you can definitely have success there. But Instagram, man, if you use those hashtags, and especially if you're frequent, and kind of like the Inktober is happening right now, so you can get in on that. But I've noticed that Instagram is the easiest way to start finding a following, checking out new art, and connecting with people. That's actually where I connect with Jonathan in the first place, is on the Instagram account. So yeah, anyways, but yeah, just posting often wherever it may be. DeviantArt's not bad too. I don't know if many people hire from DeviantArt or clients are looking there, but I've noticed that there's a community there that you can engage with and stuff, and it's kind of cool. There'll be contests or little things you can join. It's fun. I haven't gotten any work from there or anything like that, so I'm not going to suggest it in terms of becoming a freelance illustrator, but I just want to throw that out there. Next thing is join local job sites. And this was interesting because I hadn't thought about local. He lives in Portland, so apparently there are some websites that are specifically for people working and living in Portland, Oregon. But, I always think of these like Elance and Upwork or whatever, those kind of websites where it's just a free-for-all and you're also competing with people overseas who are going to charge far less than you can afford to if you're actually trying to make decent money. Because of the currency exchange rate, a small amount of dollars is worth a lot more in other countries. So it's tough there. But in local job sites, if they're looking for people locally and you live in the area, that's a much better way of like kind of getting a decent gigs. It makes a lot of sense. So that's one thing he suggested. Another thing is sending work around town. And what he did is he emailed studios in his local area, studios and ad firms, just kind of linking to his work, saying hello and linking to his work. And this is what he said about that. He said, the frustrating part, this is a quote, the frustrating part is I thought it would result in instant work. The reality is you might not hear back until a year later when they have a project that's a good fit for your skill set. And that's both discouraging and encouraging, I think, because on one hand, it's discouraging because you want to be like, all right, I'm going to send an email, and they're going to be like, yes, we want you. But it's also encouraging because when you do send those emails and you don't get a reply back, apparently they still might get back to you. And I've heard about this in the children's book illustration market too, where they might not need you for a long time because they plan these books years in advance. So sending your work out there, putting it out there, and then, kind of, my mom says in the Nubian tradition, they always end their story with, we dig the earth, we sow the seeds, and we wait for what's coming. That means, you put yourself out there and you have to be patient because things happen in time. So I think that makes a lot of sense. So that's kind of like the summary of all the little points he made under his main point of don't wait to be found. You have to actively look for work if you want to make it as a freelance illustrator. The second main big point he made was do great work and be great to work with. And I don't think this takes much expounding upon. He didn't go into detail because I think it speaks for itself. Make awesome artwork and be a cool person, and people are going to want to work with you. If you have one without the other, it's probably not going to work out. If you're a great person but your art's not that great, even if someone wants to work with you, they're going to have to take an artist who has what they're looking for. If you do great work but you're a jerk, you might get some gigs, but then eventually people are going to be like, yeah, there are other great artists who aren't jerks, so let's go with them. So that's all I'll say about that. That's just my personal thoughts on that. Those weren't his words. And the last thing he said is keep learning. And so he mentioned schoolism. And I've actually just started on schoolism, and I'll vouch for them too, because schoolism seems like it's got some really great courses. There are other good places out there for sure, but since this is what Jonathan mentioned in particular, let's talk about that for a bit. I asked him about a little more detail. He said schoolism and daily drawing. So draw every day, just do it, as many hours as you can get in, all your free time. I think that's like the only way to really make bounds and strides, unless you're like some prolific or not prolific, prodigious artist who just like, you're just like Rain Man of the arts. You need to practice a lot to get like to a kind of virtuosic or at least like, professional level. But schoolism. So he focuses on character design, and there are two character design courses by Stephen Silver, who by the way has a YouTube channel, or Steven Silver. I don't know, I just read it, Stephen. Stephen? Oh, actually, I don't know. Maybe it is Stephen Silver. Well, I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong, but I'll have it pop up somewhere so you can see what it's spelled like. Yeah. Anyways, so the Steven Silver classes, two on character design, and then he took a Danny Arriaga course, and he took that live, and he was saying that if you can do the live classes, so schoolism, you can do two things. You can get a subscription for $15 a month, and then $1 to switch classes, so you can only have one class active at a time. So it's pretty cheap. It's like $15 a month, basically. And so you can do that, but you're not going to get any personal feedback or critique. If you do the more expensive option, which is I think $700 or $800, or anyways, it's in the hundreds of dollars. It's a live course, and you get personal feedback on your work. And he suggested Danny Arriaga. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it again. He said that he did his live course with him was really helpful, and the tips he gave were very helpful. So he suggested that, and he was making the point that it's kind of worth the investment. It's worth the investment to do the live course and get that personal feedback. He also mentioned the gesture drawing course and the Tonko House course were the other ones he took, and it seemed like he was very happy with all those. So just passing on the info to you guys. And the other thing he said about keeping on learning is goal setting. He said it's setting attainable goals for each year and checking them off as you do it. And I hear about this in like all walks of life. Setting goals is a great way to achieve goals. I mean, I'm not very good at it personally. I really should get on top of that kind of thing. But yeah, so that's all I'll say about that since I don't have too much personal experience. Now there is some bad news. So this is like the advice, the like you can do it, but here are the negatives of the freelance illustration world. So one thing that Jonathan emphasized is it takes several years to develop a client base to support doing art full time. So that's just kind of the reality of it, and this is what I've heard around the board, and I wanted to be like last year I kind of decided like, okay, I'm gonna do art, and I kind of like just buckled down, and I was like, if I just spend all day every day drawing and doing stuff, and this is why I've kind of been building this channel. These are like what I learned videos. It's my way of staying accountable for what I do, so for practicing. So when I finish studying a subject, I'll do a video on it, and then I'm like, okay, if I feel comfortable enough to teach it at some level, then at least I've gathered some, I'm a little bit confident in that. And anyways, this actually goes into the next point, because he says that the feeling of I'm not good enough doesn't go away. That's exactly how I feel. As I'm saying, like, I feel confident I've learned the subject, but now I'm like, no. I mean, like, I've learned some good stuff. I've definitely gotten better, but like, I've made videos about drawing the arms, drawing the legs. Oh my gosh, there's so much more to learn about that. Drawing the hands. My hand drawing is terrible. Oh my gosh. I mean, like, it's definitely better than it was, but I'm not happy with it. And so I just want to read what he said about that in particular, because I really like that. He says, it's hard not to compare yourself to other artists, and it can feel overwhelming how many amazing artists you can find online. However, it isn't productive to focus on other artists, and there's a ton of creative work out there. There will always be someone better than you, and that's okay. As long as you can look at your own work from 2 years ago and see improvement, you're on the right path. So I think that's the negative, but also the encouraging side of that negative aspect. The next negative aspect that he talks about is that there are definitely slow times, and he fills his slow times with slow times as in not much work coming in, with personal projects, mainly self-published kids books for him, and taking classes like on Schoolism, and he says it's just a constant hustle trying to find work, and that goes into another part. The third negative thing he mentioned was that there are a lot of things he misses about his studio job. Before he worked full-time freelance, he was fully freelancing. He had a studio job at a design firm for industrial design, I think it was, yes. And he said, so mainly he misses the security of a steady paycheck and interacting with other designers daily. He says he doesn't enjoy the hustling, contract writing, and solitary aspects of freelance. And he'd like to work in a studio again. And I hear lots of great things about how being in a studio, you learn so much, you're inspired by other people, there's this community feeling. It does sound like a cool thing. So yeah, that's the wisdom he's imparted on me, and I'm passing along to you guys. I hope it's been helpful. If you have anything to add, or if one of these tips really spoke to you or you found interesting, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear any of your ideas or feedbacks on freelance illustrating, or the journey and struggle of being an artist and trying to, make art your full-time thing. So yeah, leave some comments and check out Jonathan's work, jonathansundy.com, and at Jonathan Sundy on Instagram. So yeah, that's it. Hope this was helpful. Peace, God bless, and stay fantastic, everyone. Fantastic anatomy.